Back out here at Pendle's Farms today and working on getting some round bales for him. So he's got a spot about 10 miles away that he has some round bales. So this is some leftover stuff from storm damage. I'm going to use the grapple on the 62 and get this stuff moved out, then work on moving these bales over this direction so that we can start moving more bales in. So he has fresh bales coming in, and he's going to he's got his tractor over there to load them on a trailer. We're having our trailer as well. We have about 70 bales that are coming this way. So between his trailer and ours, he can get about 5 on his and we can get about 10 on ours. So it'll really reduce the number of trips he needs to make. And we're gonna just line him up here, and by having the second piece of equipment, he didn't have to road his tractor back and forth, and he didn't have access to another one right now. So we offered to help out. So I'm gonna move this stuff and then put a spike on the front of the tractor and work on getting these moved out of the way so we can make room for those new ones. So they just headed out to go get the first round, so I'm gonna have some stuff to get cleaned up here and get ready for them. So I'm gonna start working on that. So as I just mentioned, start with the grapple on here and just kind of moving this stuff out of the way. Just putting it up kind of in the middle of this yard, just someplace I can get to it again. So I'll end up taking this and creating a burn pile out in one of his fields. But for now, just getting it moved out of the way. He has a fence there behind, so I just want to make sure I don't catch the fence and stretch it. So just kind of get stuff graded away and try to clean it up as much as possible. So this is where the quick connect is nice. I have the 2 hoses you have to disconnect, but otherwise you just have the 2 levers you flip up. You can see they're sticking out. So I go up, and the spike for the hay's up here, so able to get it clipped on. Doesn't have a whole lot of weight to it, so you have to kind of push down on the tip of the spike to kind of get it rotated down to fit. So these are old hay bales that are from a season ago and have started to fall apart. It'll just end up being used for like bedding or something like that he'll use. He won't end up feeding this to the cattle, but just kind of getting it stacked over here so it's out of the way. End up having to move it kind of one more time to get everything situated so you can get into that field, but to start with, just get it moved over there. And since I have a little bit more brush to get, go ahead and switch back over. So you can kind of get that situated and then reach over the fence and then make sure it's not stuck. And just add it to the pile here. And here we have the first trip of them getting back. So Ron's got his truck and trailer here, able to get about 5 on, and Dad's just coming up the driveway and have more on our flat deck. I think we're able to get 8 on it total. So then just going through the process of getting these off. It's one of those things I'd never dealt with round bales like this. Just haven't been around that type of thing, but pretty straightforward to get the hang of. And the only tidbit he gave me was keep it a little bit away from his fence so the cows can't reach over and eat from the back side, and keep a little bit of gap so that any rainwater that comes off can go to the ground and not sit on the bales. Notice there, had one bale, top couple leaning, so ended up figuring out a better way to do some straps. So kind of put a strap over and then used another strap down kind of help tension. Figure that out kind of after the first couple loads to kind of fine tune how to get these strapped down so they don't move. So in total there's between 60 and 70 bales that we get, so obviously it takes several trips here. But here you can see the first go round. And then we have the same thing with trip number 2. I think when it's all said and done, we ended up between 3 and 4 rows deep to get everything in the area he has. And this is just from the first cutting of this field. He'll be able to get another cutting again kind of later in the season, and we'll get some more hay from that. He sat out in the field for a little bit before they were able to get picked up, so that's why they kind of are falling apart a little bit, just because they sat before we could get to them. So hoping on the next go around to be able to get to those a little bit sooner, to have bales that are a little bit tighter and not have been sitting in the field. So the tractors that he has is a bigger farm tractor and has a clutch and kind of the glide shift, I believe is what John Deere calls it, where you don't have to use the clutch before to reverse, but you do for the in-between gears. For tight spaces like this and where you need to do kind of small movements, that's where having the hydrostat on this Kubota is nice. I don't think we'd ever get a tractor without a hydrostat, just with the type of work we do. We're not constantly, mowing fields or anything like that, where a geared tractor would make more sense. Being able to do these fine movements and kind of that back and forth work with the hydrostat is really nice for this though. And these weren't super heavy bales, probably between 1,000 and 1,200 pounds. Definitely nowhere near the weight limit of what the 62 can pick up, so it wasn't tippy at all. And then obviously with the backhoe on there as a counterbalance, didn't have any issue there. 62 is a nice option though. Even with this size tractor, it does have quite a bit of lift or height ability, so getting these bales off the top on this one isn't as big a deal on this trailer, just because it's kind of the low deck. On our trailer where we have the deck over, it raises everything up a little bit more, so having that additional height ability is nice. That's one thing that the 62 is kind of touted for, is it has that additional height, and it's meant for like dump trucks and kind of that construction environment, so it was built with that in mind. And if you actually read some of the literature on the 62, like if you look at the fact sheets, it's kind of unusual from the fact that it's actually giving you the maximum weight ability, like capacity, at maximum height, which is unusual. Typically it's down at 20 to 30 inches off the ground, and that's another thing that makes this a little bit more unique, is how they spec it, or how they represent the specs based on kind of what the application will be. So here we moved over to our trailer. I'm just getting stuff off. You can kind of see here what I mean by the little bit of height difference. And again, kind of working in these close quarters, that back and forth motion like I mentioned, and then being able to slowly get the spike into the hay bale, get it picked up, rotated, and then back out, and then goes place it in the row. So another thing we've noticed on the Kubotas that are kind of better, or typically have been better from at least the John Deere's we've seen, is the curl and up and down function. You can kind of get that sweet spot of having that up, down, and curl, and being able to do both of those at the same time, which really helps. So here's just a quick look at, after a couple loads there, what we have, plus the barns in the background. So on row 3 here, getting these bales off, getting closer to the end, but still have a few to go. So having the camera on the hood here kind of gives you a good perspective of kind of the height and at what level kind of getting those spiked and off. And with that, this ends up being the last load that we get of the hay bales. So we finally get all these situated for them. And like I said, we'll have this again later in the season whenever he does another cut. So while we were there, and while they were getting the hay out of the field and making the trip over, I worked on getting some logs out of the woods. And since we have this long deck trailer there, go ahead and utilize that and get some logs back to the homestead so that we can mill them up. So here we have a couple poplars, some red oak that will be really good to get cut up and will make really good beams and siding. And they are fair size, so there's going to be a lot of lumber in those. So I get that strapped down and take that back to the homestead. I don't have getting it off, but basically just take a cant hook and are able to roll those off the side. So stay tuned while we continue working over here at Pendle Farms, but also working on getting that stuff milled up. So hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.